Aggressive and rebellious, Commander Farsight is the master of the Mont Car, better known as the Killing Blow. Piloting his Crimson XV-86 Supernova battlesuit, he carves a bloody path into the enemy with his life-stealing Dawnblade. And in this video, we'll be showing you how to paint him and his scenic base. First, we'll undercoat our model here, and for this we've used Mephiston Red for Farsight and Mechanicus Standard Grey for the base. It's also a great idea to have Mephiston Red and Mechanicus Standard Grey base paint to hand, just to touch up any mistakes we make. The paints we've used are on the screen right now. The first section of the guide will show you how to get Farsight fully painted, and you can absolutely stop there if you like. However, if you like to take the paint job up a notch, the second part of the guide will show you just how to do that. If you are new to painting or want to know the paints and techniques used in this video, check out our Citadel Colour Painting Essentials videos in the description. So let's get painting. First, we'll start by getting the suit's frame painted in Corvus Black. So we'll use a small base brush for this so we can get into those smaller spaces between the frame and the red armour. We'll also get some of the smaller suit details such as the piping, vents, the sword hilt, and the gun details in the lower half of the helmet painted too. Check the box art if you're not so sure where these details may be. Just make sure that we get the paint slightly thinned and apply a few thin coats to get a solid colour that we need. With that black now dry, we can use Mephiston Red for the iconic red armour. We'll also use it for the shield icon as well. This is going to be a lot easier to apply, as we've already undercoated the model in the same colour spray, so we might only need one coat to cover most of it. Just remember to thin it down a touch and cover all of the red panels, as we want the colour and the finish to match all over. Just be careful of those black areas we've just painted. Next, we'll add Word Bearers Red for the darker red panels. As these are smaller details, we'll use our small base brush as we did before. You can tidy up any mistakes with Mephiston Red or Corvus Black if you need to. We'll need to apply a couple of thin layers of this paint, as it's quite subtle and we need it to stand out from the other red panels. But don't worry, we'll make them stand out a little bit later with some shades. You can make some extra markings on the armour too if you feel confident. Don't worry if the lines are a bit wonky, you can neaten these up with some Mephiston Red. Word Bearers Red is a very dark and moody red paint, which is great for those smaller panels, complementing the lighter red without taking away from the Farsight Enclave signature armour. And now for some metallic paints, and we'll start with Skull Crusher Brass for the circular panels on the jet's sword and legs. There's only a few of these small details, so we can get these quickly painted and just make sure that you get a nice solid colour with a few coats. Next, we'll paint the Dawnblade itself with Lead Belcher. By using our medium base brush, we'll cover a bigger area and also help reduce the amount of visible brush strokes too. We'll use the small base brush to get into that smaller part of the blade that sits between the black hilt. With both our metallic sections finished, we can change our paint water so it's clean of any metallic flakes for our next colours. With our paint water clean, we can move on to Morghast Bone for the honour ribbons on his leg and the pommel of the Dawnblade. Just like when painting the blade, using a wider brush will help avoid those brush strokes when dry, as we'll be needing a couple of layers over the red undercoat. As the name suggests, Morghast Bone is great for the aged bones on models, but it's also great for a darker cream-coloured cloth on many models, making it super versatile. Next, we'll use Grey Seer for the helmet, shield front, and the tree's blossoms on the base. As we've got a lot of details painted so far, just be careful and take your time when painting around other colours. But if you do get any Grey Seer onto anything else, just tidy up with the paints that we've already used. If you're feeling brave, you can also add the tau markings with a smaller brush. Practice and taking your time is key in learning these skills, so don't be disheartened if they don't look perfect straight away. If it helps you, you can practice on a piece of paper first. Farsight and his base are really starting to come to life, so let's move on to our next colour. Now we'll apply Dryad bark to the tree on the base, making sure that we cover all the branches around the rock. For an extra bit of detail, we can thin down some of the paint a bit more than normal, then we can run it into the cracks and around the bottom of the rock, so we get some simple yet effective texture onto the base. with those base paints dry, we can apply a few shades. We'll start with Berserker Blood shade for the red armor recesses. By using the smallest brush you have, we can make sure that the recesses are lined as neatly as we can, but you can always tidy up if you have any wonky lines with Mephiston red. Now let's keep moving to make that darker red stand out. After the first shade is fully dry, we'll use Nuln Oil in two ways. First, we'll use it straight out the pot to cover the Corvus Black and the Wordbearer's Red. Then we'll take 1 part Nuln Oil and 1 part water for the recesses on the Grey Seer helmet, Leadbelcher, Morghast Bone, and all over the stone and the tree on the base. The versatile nature of Nuln Oil makes it a staple for any painter's colour palette, being a neutral shade that can help tie colours together. And there we are, Farsight is finished and ready to take command. Stick him to his base and away you go. Or if you want to give him and his base a bit more detail, we'll show you some additional simple steps that will take Farsight to the next level. To take the red armour to the next level, we'll highlight it with Wild Rider Red using our small layer brush. Just so we get the right amount of paint and a good point on our brush, we'll twist it on the palette, making sure that we're ready for those details. Pretty much all of the areas that we'll be highlighting are straight lines, and maybe a couple of curved areas, so we can use the side of the brush for those edges, and the tip of the brush for the inside lines of the armour plates. Just take your time and highlight as much as you feel comfortable doing. You don't have to do the whole model. Keeping along the line of highlighting the armour, we'll use Tuscarora Fur for the dark red panels. By using the same techniques, we can easily edgeline these smaller details and it shouldn't take as long. Tuscarora Fur is a slightly red-brown, which is distinctive enough from the dark red armour without making it look too pink or orange. Now we'll apply Pallid Witch Flesh as our highlight for the helmet and the Grey Seer details. This highlight will be really subtle as we don't want to make it too sharp or harsh. These details may be really small or recessed behind other colours like on the shield, so only do as much as you feel comfortable. Not everything has to be highlighted. Just like before, if you want to, you can add some more cool designs to his armour. You can copy the box art and tidy up with the previous colours if you make any mistakes. Next we'll add a Storm Vermin Fur highlight to the Corvus Black details. We'll also use it to paint the hexagrammatic talisman on his sword arm. With the suit frame, you can also use the side of the brush to pick out those edges with more precision, keeping the lines more equal overall. For all of those blue energy glows, we'll be using Temple Guard Blue. We'll only need a little bit on our small layer brush so we can get into all of those small gaps in the gun and the blade. We'll also thin it down a bit for the blossoms on the tree. We want the paint to flow into the recesses more than around the tops of the blossoms themselves. Add more to the recesses first if it helps you to get the finish you like more. Now let's move on to our last painting step. And to finish off, we'll highlight the silver and the brass details with Runefang Steel. This step won't take long at all, as we only have those small brass circles and the Dawnblade silver to paint. So just take your time. You can also add some small lines to make scratches on the blade too for some added realism. And there we are, Commander Farsight is finished. He is based in Stirland Battlemire, but you can base him however you like. If you'd like to learn more about basing, check out our technical paints video all about it. You can also dry brush the tree and the rock in the same colour that you dry brush your texture paint with, so it ties it all together. For more tutorials, tips and techniques, head to citadelcolour.com, or you can also head into a store where our friendly staff will offer you more help. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and painting your own Commander Farsight, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!